Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Today's video, powered by Factor FileCap, is going to break down UNIX file permissions in a super simple and easy to grasp way. No more confusion, just straight up clarity. So let's not waste a second and jump right into it. Get ready to master UNIX file permissions like a pro. First, we need to know who all can access UNIX files. They are user, groups, and others. Second, we have to know how many types of permission we can allocate to a file, or what are the types of permissions in UNIX files. They are read, write, and execute. We can give all this 3 types of permissions to each. To understand what I mean, let's look at the following example. Here we can see that the user has R, W, and X permissions, meaning the user has all 3 permissions, the ability to read, write, and execute the file. Now we can see that the group has R and X permissions, which means the group can read and execute the file. The minus sign between R and X indicates that the group has no write access to the file. Now let's look at the permissions allocated to others. Others only have R, which means they can only read the file. The minus signs in place of W and X indicate that others cannot write to or execute the file. File permission allocations can vary depending on how you choose to set them in the terminal. Let's look at the following example to better understand what I mean. You can allocate any type of permission to a user. For example, a file might have both read and write permissions assigned to it. This means the user can view the contents of the file and make changes to it. The flexibility in permission settings allows you to control access and manage files effectively based on your needs. If you see that the group has only execute X permission, it means that members of the group can only run the file. Depending on your requirements, you can adjust these permissions as needed. While others are allocated only read, R permission, meaning they can only view the file, you can always change this permission as needed. We'll cover how to change permissions later in this video, so stay tuned. To display various information related to file permissions, we use the ls-l command in the terminal. After running the ls-l command in the terminal, we can see various details related to file permissions. Let's focus on the part that is important for changing file permissions, as shown in the image. The first section displays the file permissions, which is what we'll need to modify. The last section displays the name of the file, which helps us identify the specific file we want to modify. To identify the permissions allocated to the user, group, and others, let's refer to the image for a more detailed explanation. This will help us clearly understand which characters represent the permissions for the user, group, and others, respectively. The 2nd to 4th characters represent the permissions for the user, which are R, W, and X. This means the user has permission to read, write, and execute the file named desktop. The 5th to 7th characters represent the permissions for the group. Here we can see that the group has R, meaning read permission, a dash in place of W, meaning no write permission, and X, meaning the group has execute permission for the file named desktop. The 8th to 10th characters represent the permissions for the others. Here we can see that the others has R, meaning read permission, A in place of W, meaning no write permission, and X, meaning the others has execute permission for the file named desktop. Basically, changing UNIX file permission is having two ways using chmod command. 1. Numeric mode. 2. Symbolic mode. In numeric mode, all three permissions are represented by three specific numbers. The read, R, permission is represented by number 4, the write, W, permission is represented by number 2, and the execute, X, permission is represented by 1. For example, if you type chmod 755 filename and press enter in the terminal, the user gets permission 7, which means 4 for read, 2 for write, and 1 for execute. The group gets permission 5, which means 4 for read and 1 for execute. Others also get permission 5, meaning 4 for read and 1 for execute. Basically, this is the syntax for using the chmod command in UNIX, chmod 755 filename. The first digit represents permissions for the user. For example, it could be 3, which means having write and execute permissions, or any other digit to set permissions for the user. The second digit represents permissions for the group. For example, it could be 7, which means the group has all three permissions: read, write, and execute. You can use any other digit to set permissions for the group. The third digit represents permissions for others. For example, it could be 1, which means others can only execute the file. Now that you understand the numeric mode, let's move on to the symbolic mode. In symbolic mode, permissions are modified using symbols and letters. This is the format for using the chmod command in symbolic mode. In this format, you can specify the permissions required for a particular file name. For example, if you type chmod u+x file name and press enter, it will add execute permission for the user to that specific file. Here, U denotes the user, and +x means you are adding execute permission. For another example, if you type chmod egw file name, it will remove write permission for the group on that specific file. In this case, G denotes the group, and -W means you are removing write permission. For more clarity, consider this example. If you type chmod a = R file name, it will set read-only permission for everyone. A stands for all users, groups, and others for that specific file. Hola! Now that you've learned how to easily change file permissions in UNIX using either method, let us know in the comments which one you liked best. If you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to FactorFileCap for more awesome content like this. Also, drop a comment below about which topic you'd like to see next. FactorFileCap is here to make it happen. Have an amazing day and keep learning.